Hello, good people, and welcome to our podcast, Just Fade Us. We're just your average people who love competition and gambling. That's it. It's really that simple. So you can tail us at your own risk or avoid the pain of a bad beat and just fade us all together. Either way, we hope you enjoy this week's episode. So, Byron, how'd your night go last night? You win anything, lose anything, hit a bad beat?
Well, it's always a loss. Win is
Still a loss.
my name. Win, it doesn't go together. I took it a little bit easy last night, but you're it's funny you got the shirt on just to remind me of the Yankees. Um
little promo.
I promise I'm going to keep this short, but the New York Yankees I just reviewed their lineup again today, and I didn't even cross my mind that I forgot they got Jazz Christian as well.
I
So
know.
they
I
have
saw that. I always forget.
I completely forgot. Rizzo's injured. They literally have the best lineup. They have the best lineup in baseball. Like at least offensively. I can't speak defensively. I didn't go that much into research, but offensively, they have the best lineup. There shouldn't be a night where Juan Soto's going 0 and 4. You had the leadoff going 0 and 5 yesterday. You're playing Washington. You're trying to go for a World Series. I think they still hold the best record in baseball, and they lose a series to Washington. It's frustrating because it's the only bet on the ticket that loses. I remember I texted you last night saying it was a big payout. I took their run line. I went with trends that I follow. With game one, they were minus 184, beat them by 3 runs. They come back the next game, minus 225. Then the third game, they're like minus 210, and they get beat by double digits. Do you know like the plus odds on Washington that it was for double digits? The Yankees, we said this earlier in the season, and it's like I just have to learn my lesson with them. I just want to stay away from them, but they keep winning the games that maybe not that they shouldn't because they're a good team, but maybe they, don't sweep the Dodgers, or maybe they don't win the series against Baltimore, or maybe even San Diego. Shout out to San Diego. But Washington, you lose a series to, they keep losing these games. They keep losing series or losing games to teams that they should beat. And I live in New York, and I would love to see a New York World Series to celebrate. But at this point, like I told you, if they win the World Series, I'm breaking something. I'm breaking something because I've only lost money with them, and I guarantee you they're going to make the playoffs and go on a run and just start dominating. And they can't beat the Nationals. I'm over them. I'm over them.
Don't worry,
And I know you're happy as a Sox
I'll be
fan, but
breaking
I'm
something with you
over.
too if they win the World Series. So, but for a different reason.
I feel it. I just because my mind keeps taking me there, so I know they're going to be in the World Series, and it's going to piss me off because they lost to Boston early in the season when they were injuries and they're trading players. I'm sure they lost to Miami. They're losing to the Nationals. They're losing to teams that have. I think they even lost to like the White Sox this year, and it's like how aren't you sweeping these teams? I
Yeah.
don't understand. I don't care who's on the mound. You see your lineup. I'm done with the Yankees. I'm sorry. What's going on in here? Because I can go on forever. I can't stand the Yankees. I really can't stand the Yankees.
Well, I woke up this morning. I fell asleep really early last night, and I had 3 tickets. They all lost by one. I told you about 2 of them this morning, but though I was saving Atlanta for this specifically. So I felt really good about this bet. I was like, I feel very good that Atlanta's going to win.
The
I took their
Braves.
rate line. I took the under, which was 7.5. And we don't like
Okay.
betting on 7.5. So I took the under. I took Atlanta with their run line. I took Azuna to get a hit. I took Margot. Is that how he says his name?
Yeah,
On
Marvel.
I took him to get a hit. I took the the Twins pitcher who I don't even know, Festa. I took him at over strikes and he got them. The one that I was iffy about was Chris Sale, but Chris Sale has been a K machine. So all of those that I just said hit. Um,
Yep.
Chris Sale has been a dominant pitcher. Like I'm talking about, if you opened up his line, it's like 10 plus. His over under was set at 7.5, which was scary. The last time he played Washington, he actually only had 4. So he was definitely under beforehand, but he has been on a K run. I think the last line he was under the 7.5. So I was going back and forth on how I felt. I should have just been safe and took the under,
Yeah.
playing a team that strikes out quite a bit. And so, and he didn't do very well against them the last time. So I expected him to come out. So I played it safe and I took him down a notch and just went to 7. And so I took him over 6.5. Motherfucker got 6. I was like, you couldn't give
A
me one
half.
more, you couldn't even give me one more strike.
Was he
Strike
close
out.
at any point? Did you have? Oh no, you fell asleep, so you
I
didn't
fell
see like
asleep, so I
maybe
didn't watch it,
the count that
thankfully.
he had.
But I just woke up. I didn't even look, to be honest, because I was so mad by seeing 6 strikeouts. And I mean, thankfully it was a no sweat bet, but still, it was quite a nice payout. It's just one of those things which you're just so annoyed about because it's like, really, this
You know
post's
why they have
Boston
the
fans.
half points, right? So you can't tie. But it's like when there's a half point, like for some reason, I don't know about you, but sometimes I will go and look at like the stat sheet and just be like, is there a mistake? Like, could I possibly still win this even though the game's over and this is the next day? Because those half point losses are like, you gotta be kidding me. How is my luck this bad that it lands
And
right there, like
well,
right
I
at
told
the
you
edge of the cliff?
the Chicago game as well, the WNBA game. I was like 2.5 points at home fighting for a playoff spot against an average team. I for sure took that, and they lost by 3.
It's the worst. Waking up and checking the ESPN scores app first, and you're just like, oh, this team won, that team won. Oh, I must have hit my ticket, like because I'm
No,
not worried about the Yankees. I'm not worried about Chris Sale. I'm not like, and then you check, and it's like, oh wow, I was right there. And then in my case, Yankees got embarrassed. It hurts. It hurts so bad. It's so embarrassing.
I guess it is
But
even worse that I'm now in Washington. You're in New York. I'm in Washington, and
yeah,
Washington took out
right.
took them out.
You're right. We're the
Anyway,
gamblers. Vegas won. We keep coming
yep.
back.
All right. So, what's your approach for this week then, as we go into College One, the first week of college football that did us so wrong last year? But it's revenge year. It's our revenge year here.
Yep, college won. I don't have picks for later. There was a couple of live picks today with baseball, but they're already up and running. I did lock in a Cincinnati bet live, and that goes in with the trends that I'm seeing today. There's a couple games in baseball that have like series. It's a series closer game. Essentially, if you look at the line movements from the game before, it really simple. If the closing game now, whatever the line is, whoever the favorite team is, if the game yesterday, the line increased from yesterday to today, or if it decreased from yesterday to today, increase means they win or cover, decrease means they lose outright or do not cover. I went with that logic with Cincinnati. They're up now 7-6. I got them at like plus 220 live. Um, if they hang on, I'm a genius. If they lose, I'm not. So the other game it applies to is the Dodgers. Dodgers today. Yesterday, I believe it was an even line. Today, Dodgers 137. That's telling me to take the Dodgers. So that's what I'm gonna do. Probably after this podcast because they're the late game 10-10. Um, Trends for college football. What I've noticed, not necessarily line movements because it's week 0, week 1, actually week 1 about to happen. So Vegas is kind of scrambling. They're kind of throwing numbers out. We we don't really know players and rosters and everything like that. And
The
the
portal
big
moves.
news coming out. Yeah, exactly. We don't know all that. But what I do know is that in week 0 sets the tone, in my opinion, for week 1. Every single dog last week covered or
Mm-hmm.
won outright.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just say covered. So every single dog covered. So that's given a sign for this week. Most of the dogs, there's too many games to necessarily pinpoint how many, which one specifically. I know we'll talk a little bit later about 2 games that you wanted to share, but my philosophy going into college football this week 1 is I'm going heavy dog, I'm going covers, I'm going outright winners. And I'll talk about one of the picks later that I know you wanted to mention, and that I'm going with a nice dog that I think I like based off of the dog heavy week that I think we're going to have in college football.
Well, this actually sounds like we're on the same page then with our approach because I was
What?
looking at these games for Saturday and I was like, are you kidding me? It's like plus 45. And then the under over is set at 60. And I'm like, there's no way all of these teams are beating these teams by 45 points.
Yep.
They're not just small covers. We're talking about massive. And I get it. You should have a team like Ohio State dominate a like Akron team just off the top of my head. Like you should have large wins, but to be like 45 to 60 range is just insane in a week 1. Like just
And it's
insane.
it's interesting you say that because something I'm watching for this week, so I can comment on it next week, is the point you made. I saw 42s, I saw some 49s and a half, and then the over under is 60, low
Yeah.
60s, right? But I also seen one, the Arkansas game specifically. I forget who they're playing. I don't know if it's Arkansas. It doesn't matter. They're playing somebody and they're a 50 and a half point favorite, and the over is 59. So that's the closest one I saw. So are they saying, Vegas essentially saying the other team's not going to score a touchdown.
Touchdown,
If they
yeah.
do, they're not getting more than a field goal. So I'm interested to see how many games have those 35 plus lines, and then, or spreads, 35 plus spreads, and then the over under is within 10 points of what that spread is. So
Yeah.
I'm watching for that this week to see the comparison.
Same. Yeah, definitely good strategies there. We're on the same page. The games that I kind of had specifically to just kind of talk about is that the ones that aren't these massive spreads, right? So just focusing on some actual good games that we would want to watch on TV.
Mhm.
So I do have 3 of them. So the first one, and we can just kind of talk in order. So Penn State is the favorite by 8.5 against West Virginia. It is in West Virginia, and their crowd can get crazy. Penn State last year was the best in defense, especially on like the ground. Initially, I was like, yes, I'm going to take Penn State by 8.5. Also, I heard that Penn State last year made a late touchdown in an unsportsmanlike situation to make the cover. So they technically shouldn't have covered, but they chose to make the cover right at the end. And so, kind of, West Virginia is probably feeling a little salty about that as well. Is this game going to be close, or do you think Penn State is going to run them?
I think that there are going to be some games where it's just outright upsets. I do think dogs, for the most part, show up. There are some games, though, like your top 25 games, your, what do they say, the Power Five games. They Penn State is going to cover that 8. Those are one of the games where I think West Virginia covers the first half. There's some games where I'm going kind of, and that's my like playing it safe bet or
Mhm.
playing it safe approach. Some of those games I'm going, the dog is going to cover the first half, and I'm leaving the second half open for who knows what can happen. Like you said, at the end of the game, they cover the spread on something silly. We know Vegas has their hand in this, especially with teams like Penn State, Ohio State,
Yeah,
Alabama, USC.
there's
Those games are
money.
always wacky and weird. And I'm games like that with your top 25s, competitive games like that. Penn State's only an 8 point favorite against West Virginia. Doesn't make sense to me. It's saying it's going to be a closer game. I would say West Virginia maybe to score first if that's a bet that you can find out there at plus money, but definitely first half for games like that. I think Penn State covers though. Easy. I
I
think they
tease
beat
them.
them by
So they say tease if it's 8.5 or 7.5, you should tease down. And if
yeah,
they're
that's the
across those two numbers, so I tease them
just to
6.
get the win
The
essentially.
2.5, yeah. So just by a field goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next really fun game is Clemson at Georgia. I think they're at Georgia on the
Yep.
road.
It's
The
at Georgia.
interesting thing here is that's a 13.5. I know a lot of people wanted to try to get Clemson at 14. Dabo is like, I guess, really good against the spread when he's a dog. He's only lost one time against, and that was against Georgia.
Oh
Does
dang.
he lose again against the spread, or do you think they cover?
That one's a cover, 13 and a half against it's Clemson, Georgia. It's going to be, I'm sure it's prime time. I don't know who Georgia picked up. I don't know who Georgia lost.
They
Georgia's
lost a
always
lot of
been
people, though. They did lose a lot of decent players. And I think they're in a situation too. I heard they took some transfers that had some DUIs, so they're going to get some suspensions as well. So,
dang. Yeah, Clemson. That's one of those games that's way too high. Basically, I'm looking at almost 2 touchdown. I'm looking at anything from
it's
10
double
and a half
digits.
up
Yeah.
as taking dogs this
Yeah.
week. Not every single game, obviously, but those primetime games, again, those powerhouse schools, Clemson, Georgia, 13 and a half. I hope it goes up. I hope it goes up over 14.
14. And then,
But
yeah, I'm probably sure people are pounding Georgia would be my guess. And then the last one, and I don't actually have, I don't know why I didn't take it down. This one's gone back. I was kind of going back and forth on too, is Notre Dame and Texas A&M. I'm trying to find
love
I don't
that one. I think Notre Dame right now they're in College Station, and I think it's floating around 2, maybe 3.
that's what I was wondering is I can't
And
find.
Texas A&M are favorites.
I know that Texas A&M are favorites. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like 2.5. I can't find it right now, but I think it is around 2. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so you got 7. Notre Dame is ranked 7th. They're at Texas A&M, which is ranked 20th. It's 2.5. You like Notre Dame here?
Notre Dame straight up.
This is
Notre
another
Dame straight
one
up.
where you're supposed to, if you have like I tease Texas A&M because they're in. Oh no, sorry, the other one, Notre Dame would go up because
Notre
they're
Dame,
2.5,
get
so they
them
would
through
go
the
up
7.
6. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Notre Dame straight up there. That's not to say Notre Dame's going to have an incredible season. I don't know. I just know Texas A&M for I would say the last 2 seasons they've just been one of those teams that almost like what I complained about the Yankees. I can't get them out of my mind, but they they're showing that they're at home opener against Notre Dame. Vegas is saying they should win in a close game, less than a field goal, but Texas A&M, I don't. They weren't that strong last season. They won a couple games against some solid teams. I think maybe 3, 4. I can't remember, but I know they. I think they beat maybe like TCU. I think they beat maybe like an Oklahoma or Oklahoma State that was having a good season. But again, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going dog heavy. It's
Yeah.
basically an even in my eyes.
Let me
I,
see.
I'll have to look it up, but if he's still there, I feel even more confident about it. But even if he's not, I'm taking Notre Dame straight up,
No, they're
like probably on
starting. Riley Leonard is their starting quarterback.
Notre Dame is always competitive. They've been playing good football for. I mean, do they still have their quarterback, or did he go pro? The transfer from Wake Forest. What's his name?
I honestly don't
He's
know, but they do have
yeah.
good
I
coaches.
know. I
He's
wonder
transferring.
if
He's from Duke.
Duke quarterbacks are pretty good. I like that too.
No?
Duke's been having great quarterbacks the last few seasons. So I'm probably talking out of my ass, really, but I like look at now. Wake, sorry, just to not you take it off course, but Wake Forest let North Carolina A&T score in the first quarter at
Yeah,
7-7. You see this dog nonsense? Like every dog right now, other than the Bowling Green game, is essentially covering so far, late or just early in the first. Insane. How do you let North Carolina A&T score to tie the game in the first quarter?
yeah.
Anyway, yep.
All
Notre Dame. If I can add another one that I really liked, so North Carolina is playing Minnesota tonight, and Minnesota is the dog at home, taking Minnesota. I
right.
think they're 2-point dogs. Don't know anything about Minnesota. I think they had a great season last year in terms of wins and losses, and North Carolina, they're up and down. And when I say up, I don't mean oh great season. They're going to like a prominent bowl game, but they'll go on a win streak and then they'll fall off a cliff or lose a game to who? So Minnesota at home dog. I love that even more than the Notre Dame bet on the road.
They were a 500 team last year, so they were 6-7.
Who Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought they had a good season. Maybe I'm thinking of what other big team.
You're thinking of
Well, I
Iowa.
guess we
I think you're thinking of Iowa.
was I thinking of, well, I think I was I don't know why I was thinking Minnesota. Maybe the year before that, but
I think
maybe
they
I'm
did.
thinking Indiana. Who knows? Who cares? I just
You
said
know,
what I
it's
feel.
just
I like the dogs. I'm going with the trend. Prove me wrong. Somebody, please, because
somebody
last
please.
week was insane. You remember last week when we
Yeah,
were
no,
just
it's crazy.
talking like, what
Florida
is
State
going
killed
on?
me.
The
They
dogs.
literally killed me. I lost all my money because of them. I bet them on anything that I could possibly do. I bet them in all realms, half times, player stats, and it was
Yep.
just a failure. Um,
And the bets I was so sure on lost, and then the other ones that I was like I talked myself off of lost.
yeah,
And it's like, oh my god, if I just stayed. But that's what I feel good about this weekend. Saturdays owe me from last season. Saturdays, last season were terrible for me. I don't know how much I lost, but if there were 50 games in a season, I think I lost 49 out of 50.
I'm tracking us
So
this season. I'm gonna have a little board. I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna track our college football.
I'm scared. You gotta let me know if it gets really ugly for me. You gotta pull me off air and be like, Miller,
No,
let's
it's
let's
anyways.
ugly.
So that kind of brings us to our. I guess I didn't introduce it, but bet on us once, shame on you. Right? Is that what we're saying?
If you
Yeah.
essentially, if you bet with us, it's a shame on you because you should have done the opposite. If you bet against us, it is a shame
On
on
us because
us.
we won. Yeah. So that is
Yeah.
that's our segment that we will be doing moving forward, where we kind of just break down overall stuff. So our next one is a fun play on our names. So that brings us to Miller's time. You get to talk about your own specific actual bets that you're making, not just kind of general approaches.
Yeah, I think I jumped the gun there already. I should have saved them for Miller time. So essentially, I didn't place them. I didn't place them yet. I'm gonna wait till Saturday to see some line movement. But like I said, I'm parlaying dogs. That's what I'm going with. I'm going anyone over 10, 10 and a half. I'm taking their spread. I'm definitely parlaying. I'm definitely when we get off here, I'm gonna parlay the Dodgers tonight. I'm gonna parlay Minnesota tonight and let that run. And then Saturday, I'm taking Notre Dame straight up. And then I'm going to go in and I'm not touching on the heavy dogs. Like we said, Arkansas, sorry, whoever Arkansas is playing. I'm not taking the plus 50. I'm not taking the plus 49. Anything between 10 and a half and like 4 touchdowns. So like 28, 24. I'm going to take their spread. And yeah, I didn't build it yet because you obviously know there's so many games. But if you're looking for something well, obviously no one's listening or watching tonight, but you can check to see if I'm a shit talker. But
Yeah,
tonight will be the Dodgers and Minnesota tonight, and I'm gonna throw in there the Colorado over 10
in
pick
your
of the
bet.
night.
Okay.
Miller's pick of the night. Dion has to do it.
Well, that's actually a good lead into mine for my TDs of the week. I was trying to find. I just didn't really like because I don't know many of the players. Feeling confident with college football, so I'm excited for picking a touchdown when we get into the NFL. But like you said, obviously when we post this, this is going to be in the past. But if I had to pick a touchdown for college, I'd actually go with Travis Hunter for Colorado as well to get a touchdown there. As far as just throwing in some other stats, though, that I did like, I actually like Clemson's running back, Phil Maffa, I think is his name. I might be bitching that. I don't know. His
You
first name is
said
Phil. But I'm taking his over 71 and a half against Georgia. I know that he's had some like competition in the past, but he's their like sole running back. And I think they're going to try to I'm hoping that they try to beat Georgia with their run game. Though that could get out of hand and then they're forced to go into the air, but that's what I'm kind of hoping there. I also like Alabama's quarterback, Jalen. So I'm going to take his over on his pass yards. The Jaham White, I believe that is the West Virginia running back playing Penn State. I'm for sure taking his under under the rush yards. I mean, that's just one of those that I have to. If I get beat, I get beat. But you're playing like one of the top two rush defenses in the league, and so I feel like I have to take him there. So those are kind of
what's
the
his line at?
55 and a half is the over and under.
55. I feel like it could be, not saying I'm
It's
going
gonna be
against you on
close.
that. I feel like he could break that on one run just because of like a busted,
Yeah, it's
stupid Penn
close.
State.
It's close, but he's not
Yeah,
the only running back. There are a couple other running backs, and you're going up. I just feel like it's more. I have a better shot with the under than I do with the over. The over, I think I need some. You need luck. You need, like you just said, you need to take a it could happen in one go, but it would
right.
take busted coverage or something or a break through the line. So I'm just gonna go.
And
I'm gonna take
55,
the
55 is like one of those trap numbers too, because it's
It
like what
is, yeah.
running back can't get 55
Can't get
yards
55. Well,
in a
I'll tell you
game, and
who
it's
can't.
like, well,
I'll
you should
tell you
take
who
the
can't.
over.
Florida State's running back. That's who can't. Okay.
But you
So
weren't aware that he was splitting carries at during that game.
so
Would you?
what?
That was. Didn't you
So
say he
what?
was splitting? He was.
Yeah.
So,
Neither one of the running backs on that team went on the over. So Lord.
well, I have a funny
Anyway,
update for you. I have a funny update for you. I had the Cincinnati score up, and they are officially losing by 2 runs in the top of the ninth. So when we started, I took them right before at plus 220. They took the lead. Nothing happened for 3 innings. It is the top of the ninth. They are losing by 2 runs. One man on still with no outs,
and that
and it's
line
just the bottom of
movement.
the ninth left.
That was your like. Yeah, I look like a genius if my line would. That's the problem with these bad beats is that's the right call, and then they just blow it. Like remember I just needed 3 outs. I just needed 3 outs to win a real that parlay that we talked about with all those dogs, and with 2 outs to go, they just give up a useless home run to go down by
for,
two,
yet,
like
for no reason,
for
and then
no
the
reason
game's over.
except to make us
That's the
lose.
shit that pisses me off. It happens in the game's over. Like literally, Oakland scored these runs, and then there's 3 more outs, and Cincinnati's not going to score what 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth to win the game. It's over. It's like, why didn't you do this in the seventh inning, the eighth inning? You waited to the top of the ninth, and the game would have been over. But no, unbelievable,
And that's why.
unbelievable.
And that's why we're telling them to fade us because of this shit right here. Because if it's meant to lose, we're gonna lose.
Yo, they took the lead. I felt so good. I'm like, I got a plus 220 bet. Like, I'm good.
Yes, type of thing. I don't
Okay.
necessarily know about a specific game, but it does sound like the two of us are very much on if the team falls between 10 and a half, if the dog falls between 10 and a half to 29 and a half. Is that where you're kind of feeling? If you're in
So
that
I would say like 27 and a half.
27 and a half.
Anything
Okay.
between
So that
medium
is
to most. Yep.
that's what we're confident about. Most of them, not all of them, because you're not going to bet on every game, but most of them, if they fall within that range, you and I are pretty confident about. As
Yep.
far as fade us option, I don't know. Is there anything that kind of screams out that we feel like our picks are terribly off?
I
Maybe
think the one so what I'm looking at is, I
or
told
kind
you I'm
of
eyeing
edge.
up those ones. I just saw another game where it is, let me go to it really quick. I want to say it was Ohio State.
There's
Ohio
something
State
like 50,
is
49 and a half or something I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. It's 40. I see a 48, a 49 and a half, and the over under is 58.
Yeah, those are those games that are wild to me.
So that's like, if they cover, let's say 49, right? Because what is that? 7 touchdowns? 49. That means that Akron cannot score more than,
Are they really playing Akron?
yeah, is that what you said?
No,
Ohio
that's
State
what I said.
Akron?
I just completely made up two teams.
You can't make this stuff up.
You definitely can't. All right. So, based on kind of what we were talking about here, then, to get to our main point with our title here, we're going to make one bet for the people that we're confident in, and we're going to
Mm.
make one you definitely should fade us.
Dang, you just had that intuition.
I
That's
didn't even see
hilarious.
that.
I honestly, I'm gonna. I don't. It's really stupid or it's really dumb. But I think I'm gonna parlay. I'm gonna go through the slate tomorrow night and like early Saturday, and any team because there's not many of them. I know it's Ohio State so far, but any team like you said that's 10 points less than what the spread. The
The
total
spread
is within
is
10 points of what the spread is. I'm gonna take the spread of Ohio State
okay. I can do
because
that. So that's where
like
so our confidence is in, because we both kind of mentioned that, like the weirdness of the over under to the spread. So
yeah
10 and a half to the 27 and a half, we're for sure betting. And if you are in a position where the spread and the over under in those really high dog games are around 10, then we're going to take the team to cover.
take the
That's what we're
favorite
telling people
spread.
to fade, because that might be one of those that's really rocky. So, not feeling super confident about that, because covering 7 touchdowns, 50 points is actually quite a bit. But it is very odd that the over under would be set that way with a huge cover that way. So, that might be one of those where we're trying to outsmart Vegas here. So, people
Trying,
beware if you jump on the bandwagon with us. We are not
trying.
held responsible for whatever you win or lose, just responsible for what we win or lose, which my
Betting
bank
has
account is
considerable
unhacked.
risk. Oh, I gotta win
Anyways,
something tonight. Come on, Colorado, please.
all right. Well, Byron, that about wraps it up. Yeah. So
We
thank
did
you
it.
for joining our, I guess we'll call this ground zero episode. And good luck betting if you join in the gambling world, and enjoy your sports if you just like watching competition. We look forward to seeing you next week. Deuce.
Fade us.